For Pokergaming.com, this is James Gwill. Event number 8 of the 2010 World Series of Poker was the second $1,500 no-limit Holdem bracelet event of the season. 2,341 players turned out to take their shot at the latest no-limit bracelet and the top prize of $568,974. Now, Day 1 drew a very strong field of not only pros but also amateurs. Among those in the event were Annette Oberstad, Liv Bourret, Phil Hellmuth, Eric Lindgren, Amnon Felipe, Jean-Robert Belandi, Tom Dwan, and current main event champion Joe Cotta. Now, out of that field, Hellmuth, Belandi, and Amnon Felipe were among those that ended up going to Day 2. All eyes were on Phil Hellmuth during Day 2 because Phil Hellmuth was getting very deep in this event and actually had a shot to go after his 12th bracelet. Unfortunately, Hellmuth ended up not getting to the final table in this event. He ended up busting out in 15th place. He took a bad beat to get his stack somewhat short, and he ended up moving all in with Queen 9, and Scott Veneer made the call with Ace 6. The board missed both players, and Veneer's Ace High ended up knocking Hellmuth out in 15th place. Pascal Lefrancois had a huge chip lead heading into the final table of play. The final 9 players of this event were David Ollie, Max Steinberg, Pascal Lefrancois, Kurt DeSesa, Sarah Wilf, Kevin Howe, James Anderson, and I'm going to pronounce this name horribly, but it's Danielle Wojcicki. That's about as good as it's going to probably get, folks. Kurt DeSesa tried to make a move from the small blind and unfortunately ended up costing him his tournament life. He moved in for $410,000 with Queen 9 offsuit, and Kevin Howe ended up making the call with an Ace-Deuce offsuit. Now, granted, it's not a very strong hand. However, heads up, just 2 players, just about any ace is probably playable. Now, luckily for Howe, the flop fell Ace-5 Jack, all hearts, to give Howe top 2 pair. However, since they were all hearts, DeSesa now had a flush draw because his 9 was actually the 9 of hearts. The turn ended up falling a queen to give DeSesa more outs for a win. However, the river ended up following the ace of diamonds to give Howe the hand, and DeSesa was eliminated in 7th place. He took home $72,087. James Anderson got his money in good against Daniel Wojcicki, but unfortunately it wasn't enough for him to keep from being eliminated from this event. He was all in pre-flop with pocket aces, and Wojcicki ended up calling with pocket 10s. And unfortunately for Anderson, the flop fell with a 10 on it. Wojcicki now had a set of 10s, and Anderson was needing one of the remaining aces to take the hand. Both the turn and river blanked, and he was out in 6th place. James Anderson ended up taking home $96,422 for his deep run. David Ollie was another player that got his money in good, but as seems to be the trend at this final table, it wasn't enough. He was all in with pocket 10s against the pocket 9s of Kevin Howe. The flop fell 6-7-4 and missed both players. However, the turn fell a 10 to give Ollie a set. But now, Howe had a straight draw. And wouldn't you know it, the river fell an 8 to give Howe a straight, and David Ollie was out in 5th place to take home $130,617. Now, Max Steinberg picked up pocket aces again, but this time he only ended up busting 1 player. David Wojcicki moved all in pre-flop with 7s, and Steinberg naturally made the call with his aces. The board missed both players, and this time Wojcicki was out in 4th place, good for $179,286. Kevin Howe ended up going from being slightly second in chips to being eliminated in just 1 hand. Pascal Lefrancois made a raise to $180,000 pre-flop, followed by a re-raise to $455,000 by Howe. Lefrancois then made another raise, followed by Howe moving all in. Lefrancois insta-call, and the holdings were a little suspect considering the amount of chips that were in the pot. Howe turned over a measly ace-10 of spades, while Lefrancois, he actually had a hand. He had pocket kings. Now, The flop kind of turned things around a little bit because it fell with 2 spades, giving Howe a flush draw. Now, if he caught an ace or any spade, he'd win the hand. However, both the turn and river missed, and as a result, Howe was out in 3rd place for $249,351. Pascal Lefrancois was a dominating chip leader. He had 9.184 million in chips, and Max Steinberg held just a mere 1.35 million. Steinberg really never had a chance in this event, and he really never got above 1.5 million. The last hand saw both players see the flop of King of Hearts, 4 clubs, and the Jack of Clubs. Steinberg bet, and Lefrancois made the call. The turn fell to 5 of Hearts, and Steinberg again bet out, and Lefrancois made the call yet again. The river fell to 10 of Diamonds, and Steinberg moved all in. Lefrancois made the call, and Steinberg showed 4-3 for just a small pair of 4s. Lefrancois showed Jack-6 for a pair of jacks, and that was all she wrote for Steinberg. Max Steinberg was out in 2nd place, and he walked away with $352,916. Pascal Lefrancois went wire to wire in this final table in order to take down event number 8, 1500 No Limit Holdem. After a 3-day battle, he took home the bracelet at $568,974. Congratulations. For Pokergaming.com, this is James Gwill. For more, stay tuned to Pokergaming.com as we continue to bring you coverage and recaps from the 2010 World Series of Poker.